What is up, Mini Moto fam? Welcome to part 2 to How to Motovlog. This part of the series is going to be covering software and editing. This is definitely the most requested video I've ever had. People always ask me how I edit, how I do things, what software I use. In this video, I'm going to teach you all of those things. Now, of course, the first thing that you really want to learn is what software to get. What software do I use? I use Vegas Pro 14. This is the new version. I don't have this one yet, but basically it's going to function exactly the same. I mean, Vegas from I think 7 all the way to 14 functions identical, which is like 10 years worth of the same software. They just added features, they added 4K support eventually, blah, blah, blah. That said, it's also a very expensive video editing software. Now, it's 600 bucks, but it's 600 bucks one time. So you own this for as long as you want to use it, you'll have that 600 bucks. Now, a lot of people ask, well, what's the best editing software? Well, it's not Vegas. It's Adobe Premiere. Now, the problem I have with Adobe Premiere is it's a monthly thing. Like, the only way you can get it is you pay 20 bucks a month. You can get a 1-year subscription for 240 bucks, but it's still a subscription. It's not permanently yours. And I don't like software that you gotta pay for by the month. Like, I like software you can just go and buy it and install it and use it for 20 years if you want to. I just like that better. That said, you don't have to pay $600. In fact, you don't even have to pay $20 a month. You can get Microsoft Movie Maker for free. And everyone's like, it's free though. It can't be that great. It's not bad. Like, I got a friend. His name's David Lawliette, and he has Double D Productions. They do skate vlogs, or they call them roller vloggers. And basically, it's the same thing as motovlogging, except on roller skates. And they skate mostly on quads. I'll play you a little clip here. And this guy, he's a good friend of mine, and he edits his videos with Microsoft Movie Maker. It's a free software. You can see he uses jump cuts just like I do, just like any other vloggers do. And he makes his videos look perfectly great. I don't like his fonts. I think his fonts kind of suck, but, I've been kind of hassling him about that. But you can watch this little clip here and see that his editing is good. It's on par with my own. It's on par with most vloggers. We'll go ahead and fast forward a little bit. Let's see. See that it's another jump cut. They're also using a Sony AS20, which I mentioned in the previous video. This is that $100 camera or $65 camera, $100 camera, once you cover the memory card and battery. But that's what they're using here. And that's actually a broom handle. Literally, that is a dollar store broom handle they have it attached to. It's not even a real selfie stick. So, pro tip there, you don't need a real selfie stick. In fact, I'd say a broom handle really works better because they're more stable. Believe it or not. But as you can see, like, he's using free editing software, and he's getting the job done perfectly fine. So you don't have to go out and spend 600 bucks. You don't have to go out and spend 20 bucks a month or $240 a year. But if you want the best of the best, you will. The main reason I use Vegas Pro over Adobe Premiere is just because I've been using it for so long. Originally, Sony Vegas was owned by a company called SoundForge. They're the ones that invented the software itself, and then Sony bought them out and has been improving on it for a little over a decade now. But that's the main reason I use it, is because I've been using it for over a decade now, and I understand it. It's easy to use, and the only real reason that Adobe Premiere is better is because they have a plugin specifically for YouTube. Like, you can render your videos in this special plugin, and it makes it the highest quality possible for YouTube. So if you want the best of the best and you have no knowledge whatsoever, I highly recommend going to Adobe Premiere. I know I already said that I don't really care for subscriptions, but if I didn't already have the knowledge that I have about Vegas, I would definitely hands down be using Premiere. I would just suck it up and deal with the subscription thing. Now, I know that's not really the most important thing. I know that's not why you really came here. What you really came here for is to find out how to edit. So, let's get into that. So, this is Sony Vegas 14. And you can buy some stripped down versions of this. I want to say there's like a Sony Vegas Edit, and I want to say it's pretty much the exact same interface. It just doesn't have some of the more advanced features that Sony Vegas Pro has. But of course, you know, it weighs in a little lighter at 400 bucks, which is pretty fair for a top of the line editing software. I think that's pretty good. I think that's a fair price. And of course, you can get it, you know, on eBay and Amazon and outlet stores. You know, if you're a teacher or a student, you might even be able to get a teacher student edition for half the price or something like that. I have seen Vegas Pro, the full version, for like a student or teacher for like 200 bucks before. So look out for that. If you're in college or you're in high school or you're a teacher at either of those, then you could definitely get this software for roughly half price. So look into that if that's an option for you. Alright, so down to the nitty gritty. How do you edit video? Well, it's really not that bad. In fact, I'd say if anything, it's more just time consuming and maybe even annoying at times than it is difficult. So I'm gonna load a raw video here. This is from my millennial vlog that I shot a few days ago, and this is the raw video. This isn't, nothing has been edited here. This is how it came off the camera. This would be the same as if you took your memory card out of your camera and put it in your card reader and dumped it to your desktop. This is exactly how it would be. And I mean, you can see, like, I'll go ahead and play it. There's a preview window there. And you hear myself clearing my throat. And then I'm just riding. I'm thinking about whatever it is I'm going to say. And then I start the intro.
What is up, Mini Moto fam? And not Mini Moto fam. Today we are finally doing the millennial video. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, and
now I want to talk about something else. When you're looking at your edits here, like this is the audio channel and this is the video channel. So like this shows all the peaks and gains and highs of the audio channel. So like I can look at this and tell where my intro starts. My intro starts right here. I didn't mean to do that. If you accidentally double click, this thing pops up. And we're going to need that later, but I'll show you that in a bit. So when I look at this, I can see like here, this is me clearing my throat. See, watch it. Click play. Right there. And then this is where the intro starts. You can tell from the peaks of the volume. So I mean, little pointer there. You can kind of watch for your vocals in your audio track. Like I can see that there's a long pause right here that I'm going to cut out. So let's get to that part. So there's our intro. So let me go ahead and lower the volume on that. Okay, so we notice there's a big long pause there. You know, there's me clearing my throat and all that, and snorting and blowing all the snot and gross shit out. So we know that the video actually starts here. That's another thing. You'll hear yourself say the same thing over and over and over. You'll just be doing this. You'll be like, oh, that's not close enough. Maybe I should put it here. Oh, not close enough. Perfect. And so I'm going to drag this over.
Finally doing the millennial video. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now.
I drug that over. So now when the video starts, it starts with, what is up, Mini Moto fam?
Today we are finally doing the millennial video. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, and I just haven't had time to really sit down and think about exactly doing the millennial video. What is up, Mini Moto fam?
So we go through this, and I can look and see that it kind of ends right here. So let's see what this is. All I wanted to say about it. Long pause.
But I feel like this is going to be a topic that think about exactly what all I wanted to say about it.
Alright, so obviously that pause has to come out, because we need it to transition from this line to this line. So that's when we initiate what is known as a jump cut, which is a very, very, very common way of editing videos, especially for YouTube. So basically, I'm not shrinking it, I'm just shortening it down to that point. So I get it to that point, and you see me doing this. This is me. This is the scroll wheel on the mouse. So like when I scroll the wheel forward, it zooms in, you know, down to the frame, down to the single line of audio. Okay, that allows you to get closer so you can cut it right where you need it to be cut. I'm going to cut it right there, so I'm going to pull this part of the scene out, and I'm just left clicking and dragging as I do that. Okay, then I'm going to copy this scene and then paste it. Alright, and this line ends up right at the very end. So I'm going to pull this out because that's the end of it. That's where we're cutting it off. And we're going to cut this side off. So now this is a mirror of this. If we put these two together, they will function as if it's one video. Watch.
I wanted to say about it.
Notice you didn't see any blips or anything. That's because that's an exact cut. So now we can cut out that little centerpiece that's not necessary. And because I'm not sure if that's close enough, I'll zoom in a little bit. And alright, now we can pull it in real tight and then slide them together. Now watch.
What all I wanted to say about it, but I feel like this is going to be a topic
that is a jump cut. It jumps from one line of the scene to the other line of the scene. You know, sometimes you run up on a stop sign or a red light or whatever, and you have to pause whatever it is you're saying, and you don't want your audience to sit there through 30 seconds of a red light or 2 minutes or whatever. You know, you just jump to that point. It's, some people say it's you know, dirty editing. I don't know. I think it's silly. I think it's an excellent way of editing, especially for motovlogging. So we move on to the next scene. Now I see a little space here, so let's see, because sometimes a little space is okay. Like if I'm just like, oh hey, yeah, I'm talking about this one topic, and I just wanted to say, see that little pause there, that little pause in between, that's okay. It was like 1 or 2 seconds, not a big deal. No point in going through all that effort just to cut out that one scene. But when you got like 10 seconds, 5 seconds, somewhere in there, then you want to cut it out and do a jump cut there. Like this. Let's see. Oh, I don't have the volume up. Okay.
But I feel like this is a topic that a lot of people are spamming. But I feel like this is
see,
a topic.
That one's a little long. Let's go back a little. Let's see. What that one looks about right.
That more than just.
See, that's what I mean right there. See this little line here? You know, that's a little pause. Yeah, I could have cut it out, but if you do too many jump cuts in a row, it makes it seem a little too unnatural. And that's just my opinion, you know, but play with it, experiment, learn. All right, let's see.
That more than just.
See, that's fine, but this. See, that's too much pause. There's too much pause there, so that initiates a jump cut. So, I'm going to do just like I did before. I select the... Oh, I fucked it up.
But I feel like this is a topic.
Alright. I get it as close as I can. Turn that down. I got it as close as I could. Now I'm going to drag this over to shorten that down. And then copy. Paste. Drag it out. Cut this side off. And then there's our pause. So we want to cut that out. That looks pretty close, but let's be sure. Yeah, that's good. And then slide it together. Now let's see how that transition sounds. Oh, probably need to turn the audio up, huh?
Motovlog famming. But I feel like this is a topic that'll motovlog famming. But I feel like this is a topic that a lot of people are gonna
see. It just cuts that scene out, and that's how jump cuts work. And I mean, you're basically gonna do this for your entire video. Every motovlogger uses jump cuts. I have never met or seen a motovlog that didn't use jump cuts unless it was like a one-off, you know, like they had a good run. I mean, it happens to me sometimes. Sometimes I'll get in there and I may only have to use 3 jump cuts for a 15-minute video, and then sometimes I'll get in there and I'll have to use 30 for a 13-minute video. And a lot of times this kind of depends on where I'm at, where I'm riding, whether there's a lot of traffic, whether I'm really focused on whatever it is that I'm talking about. Like, you notice these videos, there are far less jump cuts, and that's because I'm kind of on a roll, but that's because I'm talking about something I have a lot of experience in. When I'm out there on the road, I'm still kind of a novice motorcyclist, so sometimes I pause and don't talk when I think there might be danger close by, or what if this truck's about to pull out in front of me? I might need to pause my conversation for a minute. Whereas like here, where I'm sitting in my office drinking a beer, talking to my studio microphone while I instruct you guys on something I've been doing for over a decade, it's easy for me to go on a roll and not have to have a bunch of jump cuts. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go through and show you how to make an entire video that would take hours, because it really does. It takes me about I'd say an average of 2 hours to edit the video, and then it's usually about an hour, hour and a half to render the video, but we'll get to that part. Up next, I want to talk about intros and music. Alright, so now we're going to talk about intros and music. Now, this was something I didn't originally intend to include in this video, but I had a few questions from some fellow friends that were trying to get into motovlogging. People that I sent some hell mics to, and they had some questions. They had some questions about how to get free music. I mean, this is a thing that plagues most YouTubers' minds when they first come to YouTube and they want to make great videos. They want to have badass music, you know, for intros or whatever. And they see my music or hear my music and they're like, I know you don't make that because I know you're not that cool. Which is true, but but it is true. I mean, I don't make the music. There is actually free music out there, and there's a lot of it. I use this one particular website just because I know that they're trustworthy. I know they're not scammers or anything. I would recommend trying them out. Now, there is kind of a catch to it. There's a little thing at the bottom of the description that you got to copy and paste into your video, and that's what pretty much makes it legal for you to use. So, I use Firefox whenever I'm downloading. I use Google Chrome whenever I'm, you know, for whatever, you know, my normal daily activities. But whenever I need to download music off of YouTube or a video clip, I use Firefox, and that's because Google Chrome, you know, Google owns YouTube now, so they don't allow plugins that allow you to download from YouTube. Whereas Firefox, who has no affiliation with YouTube, allows plugins for you to download. Because, hey, just because you're downloading a video from YouTube doesn't mean you're doing anything illegal, right? Right. I mean, that's true. So, we're going to go to No Copyright Sounds, which is the main place that I get my free music from. So whenever I'm looking for an intro video or an intro song to go with my intro video, I usually come here first. So let's see. This is a new one. I haven't heard this one yet. Let's listen to it. See if it sounds like, you know, it's fitting for what we want to use it for. Alright, that sounds pretty good. I might actually use that one in a real vlog. So, like I said, I got this plug-in, allows me to download the video. Converting UR video. That's great. Alright, so I don't need the actual video, I just need the audio. So I'm going to click this. MP3, 192 kilobits per second. Converting UR video. This is a new plugin, by the way. I haven't used this one before. Go ahead and pause that. I haven't used this plugin, so that's funny to me. You guys got to experience it with me first. Alright, download MP3. Save file. There it is. Desktop, save file. Alright, so we got our song downloaded, but like I said, there's one step that you got to keep in mind, and that's that you got to copy and paste this into your description. This is what makes it legal for you to use that sound clip. When I say legal, you're probably not going to get sued by any major companies for using copyrighted material. Probably not. I'm not saying you won't, but it's highly unlikely. But what you will get is a copyright strike from YouTube. If you get too many of those, you can't upload any videos anymore, and your channel's pretty much screwed. So you don't want that to happen for sure. So always make sure when you're using somebody else's track that you go by their request, which that's why I like no copyright sounds. There's a lot of other quote unquote free music places out there, and they want you to like do a bunch of crazy stuff like have the name on the overlay of the it's just no. Just no. Just don't do it. If it's not this simple, move on, go to another place. I don't care how much you liked the song that you found. Alright, so we've got our music. What do we do about our intro? Well, there's lots of different ways you can do an intro. I mean, people like Fooligan, Grommy Bear, those are two of my favorites. You know, they have like a set intro, and that's probably something I'm going to go to eventually. You know, they have like, it's the same intro every single time, it's the same song every single time. That really streamlines the editing process, because then you can just copy and paste it in here, and you don't have to do this every single time the way I've been doing it. But most of the reason I haven't made an official intro yet is I haven't really found a song that really fits the channel overall, and I don't really have enough footage to compile the kind of intro that I want yet. It's coming though, it's coming. But starting out, you're going to have the same problems that I do. You're not going to have an intro already compiled. It's something you're going to learn along the way. So what I did was just, I would take like part of the video and I'd copy it and then paste it up here at the front, and that didn't work at all, but there it is. I should have clicked and then pasted. But I hold down Control, and you see that little squiggly line comes up, and then when I drag the video, it speeds it up. So it's like this is the same video clip, but it's sped up now. I kind of messed that one up. So we'll just well, I'm gonna hit this little thing here. This is the gain for an individual track. So I'm gonna pull the gain all the way down so there's no audio. It's just the video, and you'll see like it goes really fast, right? Okay. You can do the same thing for say like a time lapse, like I'm sorry, not a time lapse. So like you want to stretch out, like a slow motion rig. So like say I wanted to take part of this video and I wanted to slow it way down. So we'll just hold down Control just like before till the squiggly line pops up, and then we'll drag it the opposite direction. That'll slow it down. So now it's running at 25%. See how slow that is? And that's from this clip right here. So at 25. Now this is kind of where the, you know, what I talked about in the camera video comes in handy as far as the 60 frames or 120 frames per second. If this was in 30 frames, it would not be that clear, that slow. It would look like garbage, probably. These are all shot in, actually I think this video was shot in 60. So in 120 it would be even more clear than that at that speed. You know, we'll make this our outro, just why not? That'll be the outro. Now the way I do my intro and outro, and you may do it differently, but is like I'll put a little space there so I know that's the outro part. That's the part that, you know, doesn't have audio, or doesn't have audio now. And then of course this is the intro up here, and I'll leave that little space there. Okay, so then I pull in my audio, the song that we decided on. Let me find that real quick. It should be on the desktop. I've got another monitor over here that you guys can't see. Alright, there it is. So I'm going to pull it in, and it's going to create a separate audio track here. And then we're going to decide what part of that song we want to be our intro. So we'll just give that a listen. Obviously the music starts here. We can tell by our audio visual, or visual audio representation. So I'm just going to go through and looks like it's real hard right here. So let's see what the hard part sounds like. Alright, so I like that. That's cool. That'll work for our intro. So we'll just find a good spot for that to come in. Probably right there. Let's see. That might be a little too early. Okay, that'll work. Alright, so we got our intro clip in place. Now we want to come in and put it where it needs to go. I'm going to say right there. And then I'm going to make this match it. Okay, so here we go. Fucked that up. Okay. Alright, so we figured out how we want it to be. Let's see. Let's see, what is the max on that? Okay. So we can pull this out until we want it to, where we want it to end. So I'm going to guess and say somewhere in there. And, oh, see, I did that double click thing again. It's one of those things about Sony Vegas I just don't care for. I don't know why it does that. Okay, so I'm going to guess and say somewhere in there, just based on, you know, looking at the audio. Okay, let's see how that sounds so far. Okay, so it sounds good up to that point. You know, I like for it to bleed over a little. I don't like it to go directly from intro with music to just the bike and me talking. So I want it to kind of fade out, sort of. So I'll kind of get an idea how I want that to sound. Alright, so this little blue line I just added, and all I did was went to the little corner here until that little icon pops up, and I left click and drag. And I drag it to this line here because that looks like about where it needs to fade from anyway. And then I just give it a little test run. Okay, yeah, that's about right, but it's not perfect, so I'm going to hit the V button, which is for volume. I'm going to add this little point here. All I did was right click and click to add point. Then I'm going to add another point there. The reason for this is how you go from one extreme volume to another without having to do this gradient here. So I want it to, for the bike and my voice to stand out more so than the music, but I want the music to still be there. So pretty much at center, the volume is at 0 dB, which is basically medium volume without any extra gain. But I want this to drop dramatically when my voice comes in, and so my voice is right here. This is about where my voice starts, so that's where I want it to drop off. This blue line right here represents how much of a gain drop it's going to experience in that amount of time. So I'll just test that real quick. See, it instantly drops to where you can hear me. I'm going to drop it a little more. We'll see how that sounds.
What is up, Mini Moto fam and not Mini Moto fam?
Perfect. So you see how that transition works, and it works the exact same way on the outro. So we'll go ahead and squeeze the outro in, and then we're going to copy this clip. Now it's going to paste the volume bands too, but that's okay. We can easily fix those. And a lot of times I'll find a different point in the song so that it's not the exact same as the intro, but we're not going to do that this time. We're just going to throw this in here, and so you can see kind of how it goes together. And it's pretty much the same way. Like, you're going to find your entry point, and it's going to be low volume, and then the volume's going to come up towards your outro. And normally this section would be the part where I'm all like, you know, you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that blah blah blah. You know, you get that. That would be where that is right there. And then it would come in like this. And can I pull that out? Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. Alright, so this is our completed edited video. Now, obviously, this is like, what, like a minute long, but the point is you would have a whole slew of all of that put together, and then these at the end and the beginning. So, let's just pretend that this is a full video, now that you kind of got the idea of how it goes together, and you can kind of see how it's going to look.
What is up, Mini Moto fam and not Mini Moto fam? Today we are finally doing the millennial video. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, and I just haven't had time to really sit down and think about exactly what all I wanted to say about it. But I feel like this is going to be a topic that more than just Motovlog famming, but I feel like this is a topic that a lot of people are going to be interested in, not just people that are interested in motovlogging. So if you're new here, you know, slap that subscribe button if you want to see more motovlogging.
Now, obviously, I kind of messed up that second part there. In fact, we'll just do this so it'll make a little more sense.
More than just motovlog famming, but I feel like this is a topic that a lot of people are going to be interested in, not just people that are interested in motovlogging. So if you're new here, you know, slap that subscribe button if you want to see more motovlogging.
Alright, so I got that kind of fixed. It's still kind of messed up, but that's okay.
Famming. But I feel like this is a topic that a lot of people are going to be interested in, not just people that are interested in motovlogging. So if you're new here, you know, slap that subscribe button if you want to see more motovlogging.
Okay, so that all works. Everything functions properly. I know it's not a perfect edit. That's not the point. The point's just to show you how to do it. Now, there's still one more major thing to cover. And that's overlays. How do you get the perfect overlay? Well, there's a lot of different ways to do overlays. But the way I do them is in Photoshop. Now, not everybody has Photoshop. I get that. It's another one of those extremely expensive programs. It's made by Adobe. The newer versions of it are just like Premiere. You got to have a subscription to use it. Fortunately, I have an older version that come from a disc, and it doesn't require an online subscription to use it. But you don't have to have Photoshop. You can do this in a basic editor. You could do this in MS Paint if you wanted to. I couldn't tell you how to do it that way. I've been using Photoshop for just as long as I've been using Sony Vegas. But there are tons of YouTube videos that'll tell you how to do this. What you really need to understand the most is what the difference between a JPEG and a PNG file is. A JPEG is a solid layer image. So like this is my generic intro overlay. You know, it's just some text. I mean, basically I just typed out Notagrom, and added some color to it, and a little stroke, which gives it that black outline. You know, or you can do a gradient, which is really what I have here, and I have my own preset set up that's pretty much, well, here we go. This is the one I used, yeah. And so I just do that and then put it on the screen wherever I want it. Now this is here, we'll do this. We'll just make one real quick. So this isn't the font I normally use, but this is this file here is 1080 by 1920, which is what we rendered our videos in. So this is a perfect overlay. Now, back to what I was saying about PNG versus JPEG. When I go to save this, save for web, it gives me the option of PNG 24, GIF, JPEG, and then some other PNG types. I only use PNG 24, but you'll notice if I click on JPEG, the background is white. Why is that? It's because JPEG is a single layer image. It has no transparency capabilities, whereas with PNG 24, the background is transparent. Now, to the untrained eye, that doesn't look transparent, but watch this. So I'm going to save this to the desktop, and I'm going to go back into Vegas, and I'm going to insert video track. Now you need a video track to insert images, so keep that in mind. Alright, now I'm going to find my overlay, which is saved in PNG, which you just saw, and I'm going to drop it right here. And you notice, I click on it, now there's an overlay, and the background is clear. That's the benefit of a PNG. I'll show you one more thing. So if I go back into Firefox, I type in, let's type in Kawasaki. Oh, what is that? Oh, what? Stop it. Alright, so we'll type in Kawasaki logo PNG. And I'll go to images and click on each one until I find one that has a clear background, like that one. See, it's got the grid just like in Photoshop that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to save that logo, and then I'm going to go back into Photoshop and open that logo. And see, look, clear background. And if I were to drop this, say, into Vegas, it would be the exact same way. Clear logo. So, whenever you're looking for that perfect overlay, you need a PNG file. Alright, so let's let you see how that looks real quick. We want this to be part of the entire intro, not just the first part. So we drag that across the entire intro, and we'll do this to give it a little fade so it, has a little style to it. And let's see how that looks.
What is up, Mini Moto fam?
And you'll notice I just kind of added that little blip in there. That was to fade it out. Alright, so that looks good. So we'll just go ahead and run over to our outro here. We can copy and paste that in. So we have the exact same effect on the outro. Perfect. And that's pretty much it. That's the simple basics to how to edit a video. So now that we have our finished video here, we'll just double click on purpose this time and drag this in so that it's only selecting the actual part of the edited video. Go up here, File, Render As, and then we're going to select what we want to render it in. And depending on what you're working on, you can try different things. I'm not saying that this is the best, but this is what I normally render in, this XAVC S long 1920 by 1080, basically 60 frames per second. That's what that 5994p stands for. It basically means 60 frames a second. And so we'll name it, I'm going to name it 123, save it to desktop, and hit render. And then that is going to render our edited video. And this is half of the editing process right here, because you pretty much can't do anything on your computer. You can't play any video games. You can't watch any high-def movies. Well, you can, but it's gonna be laggy and piss you off. I mean, pretty much at this point, you're stuck with watching YouTube videos and scrolling Facebook until it's done. It's absolutely the worst part of editing. Now, there is one thing you can do while you're waiting on that super long video to render, and that's work on what is probably the most important possible thing that you could ever possibly work on when it comes to making YouTube videos. You know what that is, right? You're right, the thumbnail. Now, we're back in Photoshop again, and again, you could do this in MS Paint. You don't need Photoshop. You could use Photoshop Elements. I think it's like $60 or something. It works just as well. The interface is pretty much the same. It doesn't have all the advanced features, but if you're just going to make thumbnails and overlays, it would work flawlessly for that. So we're back here, and we got our 1920 by 1080 screen here, our clear image. So what I usually do when I'm making a thumbnail, especially something to do with the bike or whatever, is I'll just open up a clip from the raw video. This is the same video clip that we're using down here in this render, and I'll just full screen it and wait till it gets to a point where I think is a good place to have a screenshot, and I'll just hit the print screen button. Alright, so we're just going to hold down Control V, and there's our screenshot. Just pull it into frame until it's perfect. And there we go. This is the beginning of our thumbnail. So, how will we do this? We'll just type in, I don't know, Motovlogging, with lots of exclamation points. This is where you're going to put your catchphrase or whatever. But you want big, bold fonts. Fonts that can be read no matter how small the image is. You also want them to be very bright, and that you want them to stand out. So maybe I'll go with this bright orange and yellow, and then I'll stroke it maybe in white, so it'll stand out really well. And so you say, well, what's the point of that? Well, people aren't going to see this. They're going to see this. So that's why you want it to be bright like that. I'd even say with that brightness I would go with black. Oh yeah. See, that makes it so easy to read. What stands out the most is the text, not the background. And then of course you can add images in there. So like say we're talking about the Hero 6, say that's the topic of the video. So we look up Hero 6 PNG, go to images. Oh, here we go. Okay, it doesn't have a clear background. Alright, so still doesn't have a clear background. Sometimes it's hard to find a good PNG. Let's try it anyway. Sometimes they'll load in and they'll actually be PNGs, and then sometimes they'll load in and not. Let's just see what happens here. Okay, so this is not actually a PNG, but we can convert it. So this little tool here, this basically automatically selects the outside of the image. And so I selected it, I hit delete, that removes the background, converts it into a PNG. Then I'll just drag it over to our thumbnail. Okay, it's a little big, so I hit Control T there, and I'm just going to scale it down, hit enter. Alright, the dimensions are off, it's obviously a little too wide, so adjust that a little bit. Alright, so there's our GoPro with its clear background. We can just put it wherever we want it, and then give it its own little text box. We want to probably go with a different font and a different color. So we'll put the font right there. give it a different color. Alright. And there you go. And that's it. That's how you make a thumbnail. You just go in here, and this one you want to save as a JPEG because you don't want it to be clear. You want people to see it. So, JPEG, save, thumb, and now you have a thumbnail. So if I open this thumb image, oh, that's the wrong one. But that's a thumbnail that I made, same exact way. And here we go. Here's our thumb in full size. It looks kind of crazy in full size, but when you see it on YouTube as a thumbnail, you know, it looks like this. So, you know, you kind of get an idea how that works. Alright, well, our video is done rendering, so let's give it a look.
What is up, Mini Moto fam? And not Mini Moto fam. Today we are finally doing the millennial video. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, and I just haven't had time to really sit down and think about exactly what all I wanted to say about it. But I feel like this is going to be a topic that more than just Motovlog family, but I feel like this is a topic that a lot of people are going to be interested in, not just people that are interested in motovlogging. So if you're new here, and you know, slap that subscribe button if you want to see more motovlogging.
Alright, well that looks pretty good. Looks like it's ready for upload. Well, if it was a real video. Obviously it's a pretty sloppy editing job, but I really just want to give you guys an idea. In fact, let me see something. Alright, so I just picked a random one out of one of my folders. This is from Vlog 5, and this is what a completed one actually looks like. So, you know, you can forget about the BS one we just made. This is a legit one. This one was put together pretty much the exact same way. So, I mean, you see all the different jump cuts in it. You see the intro, you see the outro, you see where Notagrom comes into play. You see the various jump cuts in here. Like, some are longer than others. Like, some I didn't have to cut as much, some I had to cut more, just depending on what it was. And we have like this little image barrage here. This is where I went out and took some photos, and I decided to include that. And so I've got these little sound clips here that are like camera sounds. So here you can see that real quick. So, I mean, there's multiple ways to do this, and this is just a really basic way of putting it all together. But at least now you finally have a pretty good idea of how it is that I edit my videos, and how I shoot my motovlogs, and what cameras I use, and what equipment. Also, be sure to remember to head over to minimotoworks.com, pick yourself up a hell mic, pick yourself up a hell mount, pick yourself up a lot of things on there, pretty much anything you can put money in my pocket with to help me keep doing this. I'm kidding. You don't have to do any of that. I'll still appreciate you just for slapping a like on that like button. Speaking of that like button, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next time. That's another thing. Come up with a good outro. Always come up with a good outro. And always plug!